The last thing I saw before I died was my husband's smile. It was the same smile I had fallen in love with 10 years ago, when we were both 22, and the world was full of promise. The same smile he had given me on our wedding day, when he lifted my veil and whispered that I was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. The same smile he had given me in the hospital 3 years later, when the doctor told us I would never be able to carry a child to term, and he held my hand and said it didn't matter, that he loved me for who I was, not for the children I could give him. That smile was a lie. It had always been a lie. I was lying on the cold marble floor of the Grand Meridian Ballroom, my blood pooling beneath me, staining the white silk of my dress, the dress I had worn to my husband's wedding. Not my wedding, his wedding to Sabine Moreau, the woman he had been sleeping with for 5 years, the woman he had gotten pregnant while I was recovering from my 3rd miscarriage. The woman he was marrying today, in front of 400 guests, in the same ballroom where he had married me a decade ago. I had come to confront him, that I had evidence. Photographs, bank records, a letter from Sabine detailing their affair and their plan to drain our joint accounts. I had been naive enough to think that if I just showed him the proof, he would be ashamed. He would apologize. He would, at the very least, acknowledge what he had done. Instead, he had smiled. He had taken the folder from my hands and tossed it aside. He had signaled to 2 men in dark suits, security guards, or something that looked like them, and they had grabbed my arms. And then Sabine had stepped forward, her wedding gown pristine and white, her belly swollen with the child that should have been mine. She had pulled a syringe from her bouquet and pressed the needle into my neck. "I'm sorry, Elena," she had whispered, her voice sweet and venomous. "But you should have stayed in your place. The world has no room for barren women who don't know when to let go." The poison worked fast. My limbs went numb, my vision blurred. I collapsed to the floor, and Marcus, my husband, my love, the man I had given 10 years of my life, looked down at me with that smile. That terrible, beautiful smile. "Take her out through the back," he said to the guards. "Dump her somewhere she won't be found. And make sure it looks like an overdose. She had a history of depression. No one will question it." "I loved you," I whispered, the words barely audible. "I know," he said. "That was your mistake." The darkness swallowed me till I felt my heart stutter, my lungs seize, my consciousness fading into an endless, icy void. My last thought was a prayer. Not to God. I had stopped believing in God years ago. A prayer to the universe. A T.O. fate. T.O. anyone who might be listening. Asterisk, please. Let me go back. Let me make this right. Let me destroy them the way they destroyed me. Asterisk. And then I heard it. A sound so pure and crystalline it seemed to cut through the void like a blade. System detected. Host, Elena Vance. Status, deceased. Compatibility, 99.3%. Initiating karmic rebirth protocol. Warning. This system is bound by the laws of cosmic justice. You have been wronged beyond mortal measure. You are granted 1 chance to return. Use it to balance the scales. Activating temporal rewind. 72 hours. The void shattered. Light exploded around me. And I opened my eyes to the familiar ceiling of my bedroom. The bedroom I had shared with Marcus for 10 years. The bedroom that still smelled like his cologne. I was alive. I was back. And this time, I was going to win. The first thing I did was check the date. October 12th. 3 days before Marcus and Sabine's wedding. 3 days before my death. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding, my hands trembling. The system interface was still visible in my peripheral vision, a translucent blue screen that displayed my status. Host, Elena Vance. Karmic points, 0. Skills, none unlocked. Quests, avenge your death. Reclaim your life. Destroy those who wronged you. Would you like to activate your welcome package? Yes, I whispered. Activate. Welcome package activated. Skill unlocked. Lie detection. You can now hear when anyone within a 10-meter radius is lying. The lie will register as a discordant tone in your mind. Skill unlocked. Emotional amplification. You can now project your emotions onto others, influencing their feelings and decisions. Skill unlocked. Memory projection. You can now display your memories as visual projections, visible to anyone in your vicinity. Bonus item. Karmic Ledger. This item records the debts owed to you by those who have wronged you. When a debt is collected, you will receive karmic points, which can be used to unlock additional skills. First quest. Confront Marcus Hale. Collect the first debt. I got out of bed. Marcus was already gone. He had been sleeping at Sabine's apartment for months, telling me he was working late. I had believed him. I had believed every lie he had ever told me. But now, with lie detection active, I would never be fooled again. I dressed quickly and drove to the Sterling Global Headquarters in Manhattan. Marcus worked there as a mid-level executive, a position he had secured through charm and connections rather than competence. His real ambition was to climb higher, to become a senior vice president, to join the inner circle of the Sterling dynasty. He had been courting Adrian Sterling, the reclusive billionaire CEO, for years, hoping to win his favor. But Adrian Sterling was my godfather. My mother had been his closest friend before she died. He had promised her, on her deathbed, that he would watch over me. But I had pushed him away after marrying Marcus, because Marcus had told me that Adrian was controlling and toxic. Marcus had isolated me from everyone who might have protected me, my godfather. My friends and my colleagues, he had made sure I was alone. Now I was going to undo all of that. I walked into the Sterling Global lobby and approached the receptionist. I'm here to see Adrian Sterling. Tell him it's Elena Vance. The receptionist's surface thoughts hit me immediately, a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. Asterisk, who does this woman think she is? Mr. Sterling doesn't take walk-in meetings, but she looks familiar. Wait, is that the Marcus Hale's wife? Asterisk. I'm sorry, ma'am, the receptionist said aloud. Mr. Sterling's schedule is fully booked. If you'd like to leave a message, tell him Elena is here. Tell him I need his help. Something in my voice made her hesitate. She picked up the phone and murmured into it. A moment later, her expression changed. Shock, then deference. Mr. Sterling will see you immediately. Please take the private elevator to the penthouse. I stepped into the elevator and ascended 60 floors in silence. When the doors opened, Adrian Sterling was waiting for me. He was tall, silver-haired, 73 years old, with the quiet authority of a man who had spent his life building empires. His eyes, the same gray as my mother's, widened when he saw me. Elena! His voice was rough, almost broken. You came back. I need your help, Uncle Adrian. Marcus is going to kill me. His face went very still. Tell me everything. I told him the affair, the stolen money, the plan to have me killed and make it look like an overdose, the wedding in 3 days, the poison, my death, and my rebirth. Adrian listened without interrupting. When I finished, he stood up and walked to the window, his back to me. You said you died, he said quietly. And then you came back. I know it sounds insane, but I can prove it and I have evidence. Things I couldn't possibly know. Bank account numbers. Details of his affair. The name of the doctor he bribed to declare me mentally unstable. And I have this. I activated memory projection and displayed the scene of my death. The ballroom, the poison, Marcus's smile, on the wall of his office. Adrian watched in silence. When the projection faded, he turned to face me. His eyes were wet. Your mother was my dearest friend. When she died, I promised her I would protect you. I failed. I let Marcus push me away. I let him isolate you. I told myself you were happy, that you had chosen a different life. I was a coward, but I am done being a coward. He walked to his desk and pressed a button. Margaret, cancel everything for the next 72 hours that I have a personal matter to attend to, and get me everything we have on Marcus Hale. I want his finances, his communications, his entire history. I want to know every crime he's ever committed. A voice crackled through the speaker. Yes, Mr. Sterling. Right away. Adrian looked at me. You're not alone anymore, Elena. Whatever you need, resources, lawyers, security, it's yours. We're going to destroy him. Together. The next 72 hours were a blur of preparation. Adrian's investigators uncovered a mountain of evidence. Marcus had been embezzling from Sterling Global for years. He had falsified expense reports. He had accepted bribes from contractors. He had set up shell companies to siphon money. And he had been working with Sabine to fabricate a narrative of my mental instability so they could seize my assets and have me institutionalized or killed. We also uncovered something I hadn't expected. Sabine was not just Marcus's mistress. She was the daughter of Harold Reinhardt, the disgraced psychiatrist who had falsified my medical records. Harold had been paid by Marcus to fabricate a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. Sabine had been planted in Marcus's life as part of a long-term scheme to infiltrate the Sterling family and drain its resources. She had been working for a rival conglomerate, Titan Industries, which had been trying to take down Sterling Global for decades. Marcus was just a pawn, and Sabine was the queen. The wedding is in 2 days, Adrian said, spreading documents across his desk. We have enough evidence to have them both arrested right now. But if we act too soon, Sabine's handlers at Titan might go underground. We need to catch them all. So, we let the wedding happen, I said, and we strike there. You're willing to do that? To stand in that ballroom again? I thought about the cold marble floor, the syringe, Marcus's smile. I died there once. This time, I'm going to be the one who walks away. Adrian nodded. Then we have a wedding to plan. The day of the wedding dawned bright and clear. The Grand Meridian Ballroom was exactly as I remembered it. Chandeliers dripping crystal light, roses cascading from every surface, 400 guests in their finest attire. Marcus was at the altar, resplendent in his Tom Ford tuxedo, his smile the same smile I had seen 1,000 times. Sabine was beside him, her white gown concealing the belly that held his child. I had worn white to my wedding. I wore red to theirs. A gown of crimson silk that clung to my figure like armor. My mother's rubies at my throat. My hair swept up, my makeup flawless, my face calm. I walked into the ballroom alone. The doors swung open. The string quartet faltered. Every head turned. Marcus's smile vanished. Elena, what are you doing here? Security. Security won't be responding to you tonight, Marcus. I walked toward the altar, and the crowd parted before me. They work for me now. Or rather, they work for my godfather, Adrian Sterling. Adrian stepped through the doors behind me, flanked by a team of attorneys and federal agents. The room erupted in gasps and whispers. Marcus's face went white. Uncle Adrian? What is this? What are you doing? Collecting a debt, Adrian said coldly. You stole from my company. You abused my goddaughter. You conspired with Sabine Moreau and Titan Industries to defraud the Sterling family and destroy everything we've built. Your crimes have been documented. Your assets have been frozen. And your arrest is being processed as we speak. This is absurd. You have no proof. Elena is delusional. She's mentally ill. She's been diagnosed. The diagnosis was fabricated, I said, by Harold Reinhardt, Sabine's father. He was paid $500,000 to forge my medical records. We have the bank statements, the emails, and his signed confession. He was arrested this morning. Sabine's composure shattered. My father? You can't. He didn't do anything. He did everything. And so did you. I turned to face the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement. My name is Elena Vance Sterling. I am the goddaughter of Adrian Sterling and the rightful heir to the Vance family fortune. The man standing at this altar, my husband, has been systematically abusing me for 10 years. He stole my money, he isolated me from my family, he fabricated a mental illness, so he could have me committed. And 3 days ago, in a timeline that no longer exists, he and Sabine murdered me in this very ballroom. I activated memory projection. The wall behind the altar flickered, and the scene of my death played out in vivid, horrifying detail. The syringe, the poison, Marcus's smile. 400 people watched in stunned silence. When the projection ended, the ballroom was utterly still. "That was the future you planned for me," I said, my voice steady. "But I'm not going to die tonight. You're going to prison, both of you. And the child Sabine is carrying, the child that should have been mine, will be born into a world where its parents are convicted felons. I will pray for that child, but I will not spare you." The FBI agents moved in. Marcus lunged toward me, his face twisted with fury. "Elena, please. I loved you. In the beginning, I really loved you." "No," I said. "You loved what I could give you. You loved the money, the status, the access. But you never loved me. And now you're going to spend the rest of your life learning what it feels like to have everything taken from you." Sabine tried to run, but an agent blocked her path. She turned to me, her face a mask of rage and terror. "You'll regret this. I'll make sure everyone knows you're a liar. I'll destroy you." I stepped close to her, close enough to smell her perfume, the same perfume she had been wearing when she pressed the needle into my neck. "You already destroyed me once. It didn't take." They dragged them both away. The ballroom erupted, not in horror, but in thunderous, cathartic applause. Adrian took my hand. "It's done. The legal process will be long, but they will never trouble you again. Thank you, Uncle Adrian, for everything. There's someone else who wants to speak with you." He gestured toward the back of the room. A man was standing near the doors. He was tall, silver-haired, with the quiet intensity of someone who had spent his life building things. He was wearing a perfectly tailored charcoal suit, and when our eyes met, he smiled. "Ms. Vance, I'm Alexander Sterling, Adrian's nephew. I've been following your story for years. My uncle has told me everything. I'd like to help, if you'll let me." Alexander Sterling, I had heard his name whispered in business circles. He was the heir apparent to Sterling Global, a genius investor who had built his own fortune before joining the family empire. He was also, according to the tabloids, devastatingly handsome and famously single. "I'm not looking for a savior," I said. "I've learned to save myself. I'm not offering to save you. I'm offering to stand beside you. There's a difference." I looked at him for a long moment. His eyes were steady. His smile was genuine. And for the first time in 10 years, I felt something stir in my chest. Something that felt like hope. "Then let's talk," I said. "But I have conditions." "Name them." "I keep my name. I keep my independence. I'm not going to be anyone's silent partner ever again." "Understood. Anything else?" "I want to destroy Titan Industries, the company that sent Sabine to infiltrate my family. I want them exposed, bankrupted, and dismantled." Alexander's smile widened. "I was hoping you'd say that. I've been building a case against Titan for 2 years. With your help, we can finish them." I took his hand. "Then we have a deal." The aftermath was swift and merciless. Marcus Hale was convicted on 37 counts of fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy, and attempted murder. He was sentenced to life in federal prison without the possibility of parole. Sabine Morrow testified against her handlers at Titan Industries in exchange for a reduced sentence, receiving 25 years. Her child, a daughter, was born in a prison hospital and placed in the care of a foster family that I personally vetted. Harold Reinhardt, Sabine's father, was convicted of medical fraud and conspiracy. His medical license was permanently revoked, and he was sentenced to 15 years. He died in prison 3 years into a sentence that I did not attend his funeral. Titan Industries was exposed as a criminal enterprise. The evidence Alexander and I gathered led to the indictment of 14 executives, the dissolution of the company, and the seizure of its assets. The story made headlines around the world. I was profiled in Forbes, Fortune, and the New York Times. They called me a survivor, A warrior, a symbol of resilience. I preferred to think of myself as a woman who had finally learned to fight back. Alexander and I worked together to rebuild what had been destroyed. He was patient, steady, undemanding. He never asked me to shrink, never asked me to be anyone other than who I was. And slowly, over months and then years, I fell in love with him. We were married 3 years after the trial, in a small ceremony at Adrian's estate in the Hudson Valley. My godfather gave me away. My mother's photograph sat in the front row. Beside a bouquet of white roses, Alexander's vows were simple and profound. I promise to stand beside you, never in front of you. I promise to fight with you, not against you. I promise to love the woman you are, not the woman I want you to be. I cried. I hadn't cried in years. 5 years after our wedding, we welcomed a daughter. We named her Eleanor, after my mother. She was born healthy and perfect, with my eyes and Alexander's smile. When I held her in my arms for the first time, I thought about the 3 children I had lost. The grief was still there, a quiet ache in the corner of my heart, but it no longer defined me. I was a mother now, and I would spend the rest of my life protecting this child from the kind of monsters I had survived. 10 years after the trial, I stand on the balcony of our home in Connecticut, watching the sun set over the hills. Alexander is beside me. Eleanor is playing in the garden below, her laughter drifting up like music. Somewhere, Marcus Hale is sitting in a federal prison, counting the years that will never end. Somewhere, Sabine Moreau is living out her sentence. And I am here, alive, free, loved. Not because I was lucky, not because I was rescued, but because I was given a second chance and I refuse to waste it. The karmic ledger is still with me, a quiet hum at the edge of my consciousness. It tells me that all debts have been collected. The scales are balanced. My story is complete. But I know better. The story is never complete. There are always more wrongs to right, more debts to collect, more women who need someone to stand beside them. I was saved by a system, but I was rebuilt by my own will, and now I am the one who saves. I was murdered at my husband's wedding. I was reborn with 3 days to change everything. I destroyed his empire, reclaimed my life, and married his billionaire rival. And I am just getting started.